Very good evening to you all. Thank you so much for coming online. And so today we're going to talk about, we have four different diverse panel of guest speakers over here. So Viveka from US, and she's going to talk about LinkedIn. Hi, Viveka.
Hello.
LinkedIn and LinkedIn marketing strategies. And now we are waiting for Kaila. She's going to talk about inbound marketing and the copywriting strategies. And we have our own people, Tilan, and he's going to talk about the strategies and the brand management and all these marketing theories. And we have our own, he's going to talk about, hi, Januska, say hi, and he's going to share his insight about online marketing and the opportunities which is available in the COVID-19. So without any further ado, we can directly dive into the session. So, so once again, Viveka, thank you so much for your presence. And could you please tell us, give us a brief about you?
Sure. So I'm Viveka von Rosen. I'm the Chief Visibility Officer and co-founder of Vengresso. We're the US's largest digital sales transformation company. It's kind of interesting. We formed this company. It was actually for competitors in LinkedIn and social selling. And we decided about 3 years ago, instead of competing with each other, actually about 4 years ago, rather than competing with each other, we would come together and join and create this digital sales transformation company, which simply means we help people with their branding online, in particular on LinkedIn. We help people learn how to use LinkedIn and Sales Navigator to really create more conversations with their prospects. I myself have been doing LinkedIn for 15 years. I've got 4 books, I call them 2 real books, and then two Amazon books on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn Learning author, and obviously I'm a real fan of LinkedIn. So I'm excited to be here today, even though it's 4 a.m. my time and my voice hasn't quite woken up yet. I'm glad to be here and answering any questions that you all have.
Thank you so much for your intro. And let's hear from Kaila. I think Kaila is not here. From Tilan. Tilan, give us a short brief about yourself.
Sure, of course. I'm Tilan Wijayasekara. I'm the former past president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing. Born and bred marketer from FMCG and financial services, etc. And ended my corporate career as a banker. I was DGM retail banking at Ceylon until last year. Until I quit my corporate career and decided to enter the fold of startups and my own little businesses that I've been investing on over the years. So right now, I'm a part of Loops Integrated. So Loops is perhaps the largest Sri Lankan known digital marketing agency in Sri Lanka, and connects us a boutique brand agency, as well as NeoMinds, which is an AI and IoT based software company.
Yeah. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. You are you're an investor, isn't it?
Yeah. Now I'm an investor. Yeah.
Okay, good. So guys, please look at this. We have an investor, so just make sure get his contact and also direct message him about with your pitch deck. Probably he'll be the right person for you. Don't miss the opportunity.
Tilan, let's talk later.
Just to correct the misconception. Investor means that I got a little bit of money and I invest a lot of people a lot more intelligence than me. That's all. Yeah.
Got it. So thank you so much, Tilan. Let's hear from Madhushanka, Danishka, I think you have to unmute your mic. Yes, please. Tell me about yourself to the audience.
So hi everyone. So I'm Madhushanka. So I'm co-founder and director of Instra Technologies, which is an online marketing-based company. So I ended up my career as a software engineer, and I started this particular company, Instra Technologies, with my cousin. So I'm a part of Uvo Startup Hub, where we help online entrepreneurs and freelancers. And I'm a part of Online Entrepreneurs Club, which is one of the largest online communities and groups in Sri Lanka. And I think that's all. So we can talk more about myself and the experiences in.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks a lot. Means a lot. So, so I'm just waiting for to Kyla to come online, but unfortunately she's not here. Anyway, so we can start right away. So Viveka,
Yes.
so please tell us about your LinkedIn journey. So when did you start and how it all happened? And so what are the techniques and strategies that you are using when it comes to LinkedIn for the marketer, especially for the sales and marketers?
Sure. So I started my journey actually about 16 years ago. I ran a co-share space back then. Well, back then we called it executive officing. But one of the things that I loved was helping our smaller businesses, our entrepreneurs and our solopreneurs to, to network amongst each other. And so I would hold a lot of classes and bring in a lot of speakers to speak to our entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners. And I brought in a woman, Lori Maycomber, to talk about Web 2.0. So that shows you how long ago it was that the idea that the web was interactive was a really big deal. We were used to the websites being just brochures. So the fact that you could actually engage on a website was a really big deal. And so at the very end of her presentation, she mentioned this thing called LinkedIn. And I thought, oh, wow, we've managed to double our business in a year doing face-to-face networking. So this thing with LinkedIn that has 7 million users, oh boy, that's so many. Like, just think about how I could grow my business with 7 million users. Well, of course, 650 million users later, LinkedIn has changed a lot, but I learned everything I could about it. My friend Jason Alba had written a book about it, so I reached out to him. And, as things happen, just through the past 15 years, I've managed to, been invited to write some books. Wiley found me on LinkedIn. Been able to do some training for LinkedIn Learning. And so it's just such a powerful tool that people can use. So where that brings me 15 years later is it's still a very, very powerful tool. But the nice thing about LinkedIn now is I think people are realizing it's more than just a networking place. It's more than just a place that you put your resume, right? It's really a place where you can develop your digital brand, where you can maybe create a whole new brand for yourself, especially right now, if you're in the mood to pivot in careers, where you can position yourself as an expert through the types of content that you're sharing. So, and that you can still network and engage and align yourself with the people that can help you grow your business. So I don't know if you want me to jump right into some of those strategies or yeah, okay, jump right into the strategies. So, one of the ways that you're able to do that, to brand yourself, of course, it's very simple. Anything above the fold, you should be very cognizant of how your audience is reading that. So a lot of people won't put anything in that background image, kind of above your picture. But it's a great way to brand yourself, whether you're an individual or you're working for a company or you have your own company, using that space to align yourself and your brand. And we can talk more about what that might look like. Is a missed opportunity in many cases. So you definitely want to get that background image up, and you want it to attract the eye. It's really to get people to stop scrolling and stop on your profile and look at your profile. So that's number one. Number two, you want to make sure you have a good photo and that it looks like you and that it's close up enough that people would be able to recognize you once we're able to go to live events again. But even if you're attending a lot of Zoom meetings right now or a lot of online meetings and you've got your video turned on, you don't want to disconnect between what people are seeing and the picture on LinkedIn. And I think in the US, we're probably a little worse at that. We always want to put our best face forward. And a lot of times that face doesn't even look like us. So the fact that we're doing more, more meetings, more visual meetings now with our camera at 4 o'clock in the morning, make sure that you at least look like your photo. So there's no disconnect there. Another thing is the headline, the little section right underneath your name, instead of it saying title at company. I mean, if I had CVO of Vengresso, no one would know what that meant. First of all, what's a chief or CVO? They don't even know it's Chief Visibility Officer. And what's a Vengresso? Is it soup? Is it a car? Like, no one would know that. And so you want to take your headline and tell people what you do and how you do it and who you serve. So really, who do you help? How do you help them? And then if you've got room left in that 120 characters, who you are and what you do. But, and if you have an iPhone, you can actually stretch that out to 220 characters. So yay. To expand upon that, in the About section, you've got 2,000 characters to go more in depth about who you help and how you help them. So the problem is a lot of people, like I said, just make their profile a resume. They've just uploaded their resume, maybe back in 2007, 2010. They might not even be doing what they did back then, and they haven't really gone in and played around with the different features on LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that the About or the Summary section expands upon who you help today, how you help them today. And nothing in LinkedIn is static, so you can always go in and change this again. But I would recommend, what I'm recommending to people is that you actually take the time to address some of the issues that have come up in the past 2 and 3 months. And how are you and how is your company solving some of those issues that are coming up, if it in fact does? And then finally, you want to add media to your profile. LinkedIn just introduced the featured feature. And so we want to turn our LinkedIn profile from a resume into a resource that people go to, that people learn from you. And that helps to build what we call the KLT factor. All things being equal, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. That's my friend Bob Berg says that. So we want to build that KLT factor. We want people to get to know us, and by creating a profile that serves them, that will hopefully get them to like us. And then of course, by sharing content that's helpful and useful, and by sharing media that's helpful and useful, that gets them to like us a little bit more. So just as far as the branding piece is concerned, you've got a lot of other things that you can do. You could, of course, build your experience sections out, and that should always focus on your buyer and what their needs are. You can add skills, which you should definitely do, up to 50, so that you can get endorsements. You should ask for recommendations. But if you only have a limited amount of time and you want to make a big impactful change right now, background, headline, summary, and About section, and add that media.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vika. And I want to get clarity about, especially when it comes to sales marketer and sales.
Yeah.
As you know, the managing the LinkedIn profile for the marketers and the C-level people. So both
yes.
are pretty different. So can you give us a little bit clarity about the difference between the sales marketer as well as the C-level people?
Sure. So it's not so much about your role as C-level or marketer as it is about your audience. So depending on how traditional your audience is, if you've got a very, very traditional audience, then your C-suite is probably going to be a more traditional profile, right? If the CEO is used to being very distanced from the people, as it were, you might go more traditional with a profile. It should still be focused on who you help and how you help them. But your CEO, your CTO, your CSO, your CFO, your CVO, what you want to do with those profiles is position them more almost as a recruitment tool where, you know, you're talking about your company and really why, maybe not blatantly, but painting the picture of why someone might want to work with that company or might want to engage with your company. So you're putting a little bit of a space between yourself and the audience. And in some cases that means using third person. But again, it depends on how traditional your audience is. Most of the companies that we work with and most of the C-suite that we create profiles for, they still want to come across as being accessible. And so we still create their profiles in a first person. But like I said, their profiles become almost more of a recruitment tool where we're talking about company culture and the growth of the company and you know, positioning the company. Whereas our marketers and our sales folks, it's more of a sales landing page without being blatantly salesy, because no one likes that. You know, that's a turn off for sure. But where again, you're addressing more the buyer as opposed to the potential candidate, the buyer's point of pain and how you solve it. So I'd say that is the biggest difference. Is there's sometimes a layer of distance between the C-suite and their audience, and the C-suite is really more of a recruitment tool, whereas with marketers, it's more of a sales tool.
Perfect. So, what are your favorite lead generation strategies? Can you highlight minimum 3 hacks that
Sure.
close the leads?
Sure. So obviously having an attractive LinkedIn profile that attracts the right prospects, that speaks to the prospects, and then making it easy for them to engage with you. One of the biggest problems is that people, you know, put up their LinkedIn profile and then make it almost impossible for the buyer to access the profile, or to access them. So, you know, calls to action and contact information is absolutely key for lead generation, because as we all know, it's much easier to address a lead who's found you, right? Inbound, who's found you and is reaching out to you, than it is to you know, be spamming your network and inviting everyone in the world to connect and hoping that someone will bite. So if you can make your LinkedIn profile attractive and attract your buyer and then make it easy for them to contact you, that's a pretty easy lead generation strategy. And the nice thing is you only have to create your LinkedIn, you adjust it of course, but you only really have to spend time on it once and it will start attracting leads, especially right now, right? Having the right keywords in there. I think everyone's probably noticed, if you look at who's viewed my profile, that those numbers have shot way up. Mine have gone up about 60 or 70%. Some of our clients, it's gone up 500%. So people are on LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is attracting the right leads. Some other strategies, some more active strategies that you can do, of course, is sharing content, which not only helps to position you as a thought leader, but it allows a platform for your prospects, for your buyers to engage with you. And so I recommend, you know, sharing at least one native post a day. Sharing tools are great if you want to, you know, if you want to use a Hootsuite or an Octopost or a Agorapulse or whatever social sharing tool you might be using to schedule out your posts. You can certainly do that, but I would say at least once a day, you want to share a piece of content that's helpful, that's useful. You don't have to necessarily be well, our marketers obviously are, but if you're not a marketer, you don't necessarily have to create your content. Like you don't have to be writing your blog posts. You don't have to be creating those YouTube videos. If you are a marketer, you do, you know, that's probably your job. But if you're more sales oriented, you become a curator of content. That being said, once you find the content, whether it's your own companies or something else that you curate, a forum that you like, a website that you like, a YouTube channel that you like, you still want to position that media or that information. And so you want to use the full amount. There's 1,200 or 1,300 characters rather in the description section of an update or a post. So way more than Twitter's 240 or whatever it is now, 280, 240. So you want to use those 1,300 characters to address your buyer straight on. And people go, well, but I can help anyone with a computer. I can help anyone with a face. I can help anyone with a phone. I can help anyone in the world. So shouldn't I try to address everybody in my content? But the fact is, if you try to help everyone, you're not going to be able to help anyone. And so you want to address your buyer persona. And if you've got more than one, then you just do a couple different posts. But you want to address your buyer persona. You want to let them know what the content that you're sharing is about. You might put some bullet points in there. You definitely want your call to action. Hashtags are a thing again on LinkedIn. So you want to add 3 or 4 popular hashtags and then one unique one that will later on help you find the content again if you want to find it. Emojis, depending on your audience, you can definitely add emojis in there. And then you want to mention anyone who's relevant to the article. So if it's a blog post about a particular person and they're live and on LinkedIn, you might tag them in the post. If you wrote the post in response to a particular question, you can tag that individual. So, and by the way, you can tag people in the photo itself now, like you have been able to do on Facebook and for years, but now you could do it on LinkedIn too. So if you've got an image or a video, you can tag people and that will draw their attention. So that's actually a good lead generation because it gets people, again, knowing, liking, and trusting you because you're putting good content out there. It allows people who are not first level connections with you to engage with you in the timeline, in the actual comment section, which then allows you to reach out and engage with them. So as far as creating content, I like to do it once a day. If that's too much, 3 or 4, maybe 3 times a week. But that gives people an idea of who you are and what you're putting out there. And it gives them a platform to engage with you and it positions you as an expert. So again, and it drives traffic too. If you've got a blog, if you've got a podcast, if you've got a YouTube channel, right? It'll drive traffic there as well. So that added benefit. And then you can, whenever you can, of course, pull your leads from LinkedIn and into a funnel. That's helpful because then you control it. Yes, you want to build you want to build your castle on the LinkedIn, but that's still building it on the sand. So you want to have the foundation of being able to build your castle on your own marketing platform. So drawing those leads in that way. And then
interesting. That's quite interesting. Viveka, there's a concern. There are ways the marketers as well as the C-level people, LinkedIn influencers and lead gen experts who are using the social selling index dashboard as their platform to evaluate by themselves. So what is your opinion about, especially when it comes to SSI?
Yeah, your social. Yeah. So your social selling index.
Yeah, because nowadays most people, when it comes to the sales and marketing, the sales marketer, they used to care about their social indexing score. So whether it's peaking or whether it's going down, or they are comparing. And these are things. So what's your personal opinion about it?
It's a litmus test. First of all, LinkedIn plays around with those numbers all the time. I will be super active on LinkedIn. I've just been at a conference and I'm getting all of these invitations to connect and I'm accepting them all and I'm engaging and I'm sharing content and my SSI score will go down a point or 2, go figure. But in general, it's a good litmus. It's a good, it's a good number to keep an eye on. Just know that there are times that LinkedIn just shifts things and you'll drop 5 to 10 points just for no particular reason. But that being said, certainly you want to look at the overall arc over, you know, a 3-month, a 6-month, a 12-month period of time and make sure that you're trending up. You will get to a point, of course, a good marketer will get, and a good salesperson will get to a point where it's going to hover in the mid 80s. And it's, I think I've gotten to 92 like twice in my entire life. So once you get up into the 80s, just know it's probably going to hover there and jump up and down a little bit, and that's fine. But certainly for those who are starting out on LinkedIn, and if you go to yourssiscore.com, it will take you to the LinkedIn page, which I think is linkedin.com/sales/SSI or something like that. But if you just go to your SSI for Social Selling Index, it'll tell you what your score is right now. And certainly, you know, you want to grow it from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s into at least the 70s and the 80s. Most of the sales teams that we work with a lot of enterprise sales teams. Most of them, you know, our goal is to get them at least into the 70s while they're going through our 15-week training. So, you know, if we can get them at least into the 70s, that shows us that they've got a good brand. We help them, you know, we help the whole sales team create a stronger brand. And that shows us that they know how to engage with their audience and start connecting with their audience. And it shows us that they know how to, you know, feed their audience with insights, and that they're active online, which are all things that you have to have. You have to have all 4 of those factors that make up the SSI score. So while it's not, you know, I wouldn't base my salary on it, but it is a good thing to keep an eye on so that you know you're trending up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So is it necessary, this is my last question, is it necessary to have a sales navigator in order to improve our SSI score? Because there's a misconception. There are discussion going on through the Quora. If you look at the Quora, then there are discussions talking about if you really want to hike your SSI score immediately instead of engaging with the content, there are short tricks whether if you can upgrade your membership into sales.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is. You do get like a 5 to 10 point hike in Sales Navigator, or in your SSI score if you have Sales Navigator. But don't get Sales Navigator just to have a higher SSI score. Again, an SSI score is just a reflection of your activity. It's not, it doesn't, you know, having a high SSI score does not necessarily mean that you're making a bunch of sales. You actually have to be a good salesperson to do that. Now, I'm a huge fan of Sales Navigator. Don't get me wrong. I love my Sales Navigator. I am not willing to give it up. There are certain features within Sales Navigator that make it, and to me, an invaluable tool. Not so much the in-mails, things like that. I mean, I don't even use all my in-mails every week. The few things that I find particularly useful about Sales Navigator is the fact that you can create lists of people, lists of prospects, and keep an eye on their activity. So I've got my LinkedIn network, my LinkedIn connections is ridiculously large because I've been at it a long time. I don't recommend that, by the way. It's with LinkedIn's newest algorithm as far as engagement. You're going to get more engagement on your posts if you have a tighter, smaller network that actually knows you and engages with you and trusts your stuff and is going to read it, than a big network of a bunch of people who don't know you. So LinkedIn could tell us all day long, don't connect to people you don't know, but it wasn't until they changed the algorithm that I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. So I will connect with people I don't know, but I do make sure that they're good audience for me, and so other people should do that too. But that aside, so if you've got a big network and it's hard to keep an eye on your prospects, Sales Navigator is invaluable because I can create, like I said, lists or groupings of contacts or of prospects and keep an eye on their content, keep an eye on their engagement. which obviously you can't do with free LinkedIn unless you're using a third-party tool, which LinkedIn doesn't allow. And so that's one reason I love it. Another reason I love it is because the search fields are so they have additional search fields so I can find the exact right prospects. And then LinkedIn doesn't give me that up. You know, it looks like you're using us too much. You have to pay for us now if you want to get more results. So I'm already paying for it. And then the third thing I love about Sales Navigator is they have these new alerts. And so they'll alert you when a saved prospect is actually engaging on your content. They'll alert you when a saved prospect has accepted your invitation. They'll alert you when a saved prospect has viewed your profile. So it takes that big nebulous network that you have out there on LinkedIn, and it really tightens it up to just the right people that you should be engaging with right now, your prospects, your influencers, etc. on LinkedIn. So I'm a huge fan of Sales Navigator, but don't buy it just to increase your SSI score. If you're going to buy it, make sure you utilize all of the excellent features that it has.
Thank you so much, Viveka, because I used to get questions that's regarding the SSI and whether they want to upgrade their membership to the professional or premium membership for Sales Navigator. I used to tell them it's depend on your perspective, depend on your need and wants. So that's the ultimate goal. They want to, whether you want to upgrade it or whether you want to focus on your SSI score. It's just a number based on your activities. So
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for your brief information and all the explanation about the LinkedIn and LinkedIn strategies, Viveka. So let's hear. I think we are waiting for Kailas. Still, she didn't hear. She's not here. So shall we directly dive into Tilan? Hi, Tilan. Still, you are with us?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I had to unmute myself. That's all.
Okay. So a lot of learning curves nowadays, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So we are learning from each other's and improvising the quality of the learning methodology and harvesting and experimenting the things that we have already adapted. So coming back to you, as usual, Tilan, please give us a very short brief about yourself to us.
Oh, okay. Again, so yeah.
I mean, in terms of your profession.
Oh yeah, sure. So as I said, I'm Tilan Wijayasekara. I used to head the marketing fraternity in Sri Lanka. So formerly a marketer, now a business guy more than a marketer. So my last job in the corporate life was as a banker. So I was a sales guy or audit guy turned sales guy turned marketer turned into a banker, now an entrepreneur. So God only knows what I'll end up being tomorrow, right? But right now I'm involved in digital marketing, boutique brand agency, as well as technology on the AI and IoT front as an investor in those areas. So yeah, that's what.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for the brief. Tilan, tell us about your experience in terms of the marketing strategies and the current situation in Sri Lanka, what are the things that we can adapt it and what are the things that we really need to focus on when it comes to digital marketing and online marketing. You know, the difference. The digital marketing is a vast vertical. So which one is the right one? Which one is the right, the way to approach the untapped market?
Right, yeah. So, I mean, all good questions. I think about 4 or 5 questions rolled into one.
You have to cover 20 minutes.
Yeah. All right, good. So I can bat straight through. Yeah, so I think it's very, very interesting times, right? Because, I mean, very unfortunate times in terms of what the world is going through and what Sri Lanka is going through as well, from a human point of view and from, you know, a health point of view and all the issues that people are going through. But since we are sticking to the business side of things, I stick to the business side of things as well, right, in my commentary. So I think, first of all, I've been trying to really understand the context, right? Because it's been very, very tough to understand what everybody's going through right now from a global as well as local perspective, because people are going through radical changes in a very short span of time. I haven't seen so many changes happening in such a short span of time in business and social in my entire life. Span, right? And as you can see, I'm only 21 years old. I'm not too old, but still, you know, I was kidding. But, you know, we haven't seen these kind of things, right? So let's start on the current context. If I can start that way, before I get to what I feel marketers should be doing and business guys should be doing, let's try and understand some of the dynamics right now, right? So in terms of current context, we see consumption patterns are changing drastically right now, right? From a consumer's point of view, you look at yourself, question yourselves, everybody right here, right now. what are the kind of products and services you consumed 2-3 months ago versus you're consuming right now, right? Totally changed, right? So patterns are changing, types of products that you're consuming are changing, and everybody thinks that everybody's moved on to essentials. Is that true? I mean, look at yourself, guys, right? I mean, I know myself, and I've got into a lot of comfort food, if nothing else. I should be looking after myself a little bit better, but a lot of people are doing this right now. Look, there's a lot of frustration out there with a lot of people, right? Being stuck at home, not being able to do the kind of things they're usually doing. So people do want to indulge. Whilst the lower spectrum of society and some of the lower segments can't afford to, they just want to put food on the table. You're looking at SEC A and B classifications, they want their little luxuries and little indulgences, right? So let's talk about them as we move forward as well. So buying patterns also has changed from physical to digital, right? And I see an opportunity in phygital. I'll explain what phygital is in a little while, right? And in terms of brand loyalty, guys, are you guys brand loyal right now? As an example, if you look at Munchie versus Melbourne, do you really give a damn about the kind of brand of biscuit you're going to have right now, right? But that doesn't mean that Munchie and Melbourne don't have to do their jobs in terms of businesses as well as brand custodians, right? What they do right now will determine how they end up at the end of this scenario and the market share that they will be able to retain, right? And to remain market leaders and followers and et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of things people are doing, and guys like Munchie are doing fabulous jobs, I see personally as well. In terms of businesses, right? Why are people all getting impacted in this way? A lot of businesses obviously have a lot of cash flow issues. SMEs are crashing, businesses are falling as we speak, a lot of job losses and a lot of pay cuts. So what are the impacts of things like that, right? In terms of, consumption, right? So give me a second. Right. So, we need to understand the whole impact of all these, the whole ecosystem is having on us, especially starting with our consumers. So digital payments are growing rapidly, right? So there's this joke going around. I don't know how many of you guys saw this over the last 2-3 weeks. Who grew internet banking in Sri Lanka, online banking in Sri Lanka? Was it the central bank? Was it the banks? Or was it COVID? I think all of you know the answer, right? I used to be, yeah? Do you want to answer that, Sharon? So I used to be DGM retail banking. One of my 10 departments was digital. So the head of digital used to report to me, and our conversation every month, tracking our KPIs was, how the hell do we move this needle of getting people to onboard for online banking? We just couldn't get it happening. We threw out so many incentives, right? But right now it's happening automatically. The banks are, laughing all the way to the bank, right? The banks are, right? So if you look at mainstream media versus digital media, right now consumers are moving a lot from mainstream to digital, right? And even on mainstream media, people are on demand, right? Rather than the free-to-air kind of scenario. So we need to, as marketers, understand this shift and which segments are really moving to digital, right? And there's another phenomenon happening right now in Sri Lanka. If you noted, because I'm following the social chatter apart from the official research, and you'll understand that there's a bit of criticism happening on mainstream media right now. I'm sure it's happening right now, probably around the world as well. I don't know how it's over there, Viveka, but right over, yeah, is it happening over there as well?
Oh yeah, for sure.
There you go, right? Because there's a lot of sensationalization, dramatization, biasness across media around the world. It's the same case in Sri Lanka. There is a little bit of bias, and people are reading through it. And now people want to have news from your friends. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not going to comment on that, right? That's a separate topic, another 2 hours on that, right? But that shift is actually happening right now from mainstream media to social media in terms of news provision as well. So there are content providers right now coming into the space to provide news, right? And are more trusted. And you have guys like Watchdog and things like that trying to, ratify news or trying to say if this news is correct.
The news, whether it's true or not.
Exactly. So fantastic. Great opportunities emerging online, from mainstream to online, right? So that's also emerging right now. Not a lot of people are picking these up at the moment, right? So lack of trust is a huge issue on mainstream. So gig workers, I'm defining this as gig workers to the rescue, right? People are all talking about the gig economy, right? To be very honest, within the space of 1 month, I've launched another business in the process of launching it just on gigs, right? Facilitating corporates with gig workers, because although a lot of people are losing jobs, losing income and nothing to do at home, I've had people approaching me, can I do work for you for free? Because I'm bored, right? But post-COVID too, there will be a lot of people left out without jobs and needing more income, willing to work freelance basis, right? So can we facilitate that? There are corporates right now, although they are laying off on one end, they need a lot of work done. Who's going to get the work done, right? Gigs. There is an opportunity over there as well, as I see it, right? Digitization, risk management, information security, UI, UX. I still focus coming into these areas because businesses are becoming digitized, but do people understand that, right? Risk management has to come into play because a lot of people are getting onto e-commerce, but they don't understand the risk behind it, right? Consumers are going to be seriously disappointed if there are a few letdowns, and there will be along the lines. So the risk managers need to get their acts together. The information security guys need to get their act together. Post-COVID, it's all good during this time, but all the guys who will be, the ruthless guys, the ones, the black hatters, whatever you want to call it, the guys behind who will come into this space as well, apart from the legitimates, right? So we got to watch out for those as well. UI, UX, I'd like to really talk about this because, see, right now, there's a lot of segments. There are people who never shopped online in their lives shopping online right now. Yes or no? Yeah. Think about it. Think about your friends and relatives who've never shopped. I got so many of my friends, asking me, Machang, how do I get online banking? How do I get the mobile app? Is it easy? Da, 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 da. These are not tech savvy people, some of them, right? The older generations, they're not very tech savvy either, right? So the UI UX component of some of these technologies that people are turning out need to improve. Right? People need to be able to use this because they don't understand how to use some of these complicated things at the moment. So that's another thing I see emerging right now, right? In terms of consumer mindsets, let's move to consumer mindset right now. I was following some stuff that Nielsen and especially Kantar was churning out in terms of research. Right now, I think Kantar had done about 3,000 people they've researched on this, on some social research. And they see that a lot of people are talking about scaling down their spending versus SCCA is not really doing that, right? So you need to understand your segments based on the business that you guys are in, based on the industry that you guys are in as well, right? And in Sri Lanka, people are saying, the majority of people are saying we are going to bounce back. We all know how resilient Sri Lanka is, right? And you go back to the tsunami, you go back to the war, you go back to last year's Easter bombings. We recovered far more, or I would say we recovered much faster than most of the countries that have gone through shocks like that. So people are talking about it. People say, look, Sri Lanka will come out of this, right? I mean, obviously we are in global recession at the moment. Sri Lanka is suffering too, but there is a positive sentiment, mindset of people. So we as marketers and business people need to pick into that mindset, understand that psyche, right? Dive in there with the right mindset, with the right approach on our marketing side, and we can end up being better than what we were a few months ago. Not trying to survive, right? That's how I see it, to be honest. People are very emotional at the moment, right? People are spending time with their families. People are reflecting on their lives. People are thinking more about their future, how they're gonna. So there's a lot of emotion right now. So as marketers, what is our content strategy, right? Our content strategy is key. It is not about just churning out posts and putting things out there and saying, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Hey, we got a price off for you, or we got a better solution for you. Da 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 da. Tap into emotions of people because people are emotional at the moment. Try and figure that out in your space, in your industry, right? In your product and your service category, right? Local, thinking local. Watching the news around the world, there are movements for more nationalism, right? And in Sri Lanka also, there's this notion of, you got to go out there, help your local businesses, your neighbor, your local communities, go give more business to local companies, right? So this is definitely a trend emerging. Even medication, right? I've been on Ayurveda for a long time, so it's not new for me, but I see a lot more people, you guys would have noticed, a lot more local remedies, right, are happening right now. So alternative sources of health and hygiene are, coming out apart from the normal mainstream, right? So brands can emerge out of nowhere, new segments if you identify those gaps, right? Hygiene is going to be ever more important, right? In any business, right? Health and hygiene. So imagine you going out, people are going to reduce the amount of going out and eating and things like that. So, but if your businesses are putting out the right message and say, hey, this is the amount of focus that we have on health, safety, and hygiene and things like that, you stand out. You have a competitive advantage versus your competitors, right? So spirituality, I'm not going to talk about spirituality. A lot of people, getting more spiritual now as well, including myself, more meditation now, right? Let's get on to financial behavior. Sorry. Yeah, sure.
Trilan, so guys, this is all about, I have I have invited almost 4 people who are having a diverse background. So especially Viveka, she talked about how LinkedIn algorithm works, and also the SSI, and also about the perspective of sales marketer as well as the C-level people, how you want to leverage the potential of LinkedIn. And I invited Kyla. Kyla, she is really good in content inbound marketing. She can explain about the strategies and the hacks, how you want to craft your LinkedIn profile using the schema as well as the copywriting ways. And I invited Tilan to talk about the current situation in Sri Lanka and what are the untapped opportunities where you can leverage. When it comes to untapped opportunities between the top 5, there are tons of opportunities which is available at the moment. Even though there are no opportunities, we can create it. But the point is here, just 5 most untapped opportunities. If you can leverage that chance, that will make a huge impact on the people's life. So my question to Tilan, can you relate the top 3 opportunities that you see from your perspective?
Yeah.
From the freelancer perspective, if a freelancer, if he can use the strategy, if he can use the chance to create as a product or create as a service, what are the strategies, what are the things that he need to prioritize when it comes to using the opportunities?
Right. So that's an interesting question. We get onto a niche of gig workers and freelancers. I personally think the big opportunity right now is there are more opportunities emerging, right? In terms of segments that didn't traditionally go to freelancers and definitely not to remote working people. It's happening right now because of the current context, right? So whilst you have had a lot of organizations laying off people and pay cuts and all that, they still need to get the work done. So they're looking at non-traditional. So a lot of people, when you talked about freelancers and gig workers, tended to start with blue collar, right? I personally feel there's a lot more opportunities coming at middle level and senior level, right? I see this happening right now. A lot more consultants coming in, but you usually used to call them consultants. Now they're coming in the guise of gig workers, right? And the benefit to organizations that these are short-term expenditures and they get in and out. If the guy doesn't deliver, you're out. If the guy delivers, you can extend as well. And you're getting expertise, which you can't generally get from inside your organization. So as gig workers, I see a big opportunity for a variety of different roles than the traditional. Now, I'll give an example in my industry. One of the companies I'm in digital marketing and branding, right? We needed more people. We got so much of business in the last 1 month. Loops, as an example. We got so aggressive, so fast. We restructured the business, put new teams in play. We got more business than we could handle. So we actually went to the market and said, look, we need graphic designers, we need content writers, we need X, Y, and video editors, etc. So guys who we wouldn't usually outsource to for non-sensitive stuff, we're going to them, right? So that's one big opportunity I see right now. Non-traditional jobs that were not always outsourced are now being outsourced. Marketing consultants in very specialized roles. I see different roles emerging for sales guys. I've had people calling me and say, hey, can you recommend a good guy? I need a good sales consultant right now to work with me for 3 months to help me understand this current scenario and how I can use a sales team, right? And whether I can build a freelance. Now, my other business, NeoMinds, we are into AI and IoT technology, right? This is high-end technology. We totally changed our business from high-end technology to basic e-commerce products. In the space of 1 month, we did this, right? And then we suddenly realized, look, earlier, we just had 3 or 4 people looking at sales. We had strategic sales, right? Because we went on connections, because of high-end projects, right? Now we can't sell basic SME products at retail level and SME level without a sales team, can we? What do? We just reached out on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, few posts out saying, look, we are looking for freelance sales agents. We set up a sales team, right? 100% freelance, 100, no, zero cost to the company, right? Zero the company. We just set it up. They're all going on commission basis. Boom.
That's a good chance now. So especially when it comes to freelancing, they always wanted to do the things in a remote world, in a remote way. So coming back to the topic, coming back to the main topic. So what are the strategies that for the sales marketer, and you said the gig industry, the gig workers industry. So what are the strategies they need to focus? Say an example first, they need to build their personality, isn't it? So they need to build their resume first. So since when it comes to online, they're going to apply for a job. So which means instead of relying on the resume that we look at in our Sri Lankan HR history, so they want to build their online resume. So that's the main reason we are urging to people to go ahead with LinkedIn. So what are the strategies? What are the first step they want to take over when it comes to applying an online job? Okay. So you're hiring, isn't it? Your company is hiring.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is, re-strategize yourself, right? First try to understand the context. Like I was telling on mainstream marketing, like I was telling the scenario, how consumers are changing, etc. Understand your consumer first. Who's your consumer? If you're a gig worker, understand the corporates or the SMEs or the micros that are hiring. Understand their psyche. Understand what they're looking for. What are the roles they're looking for? What are the types of jobs and the kind of expertise that they need coming on board? Start there. Don't start inwards, right? First start understanding the context and the market. Then look at yourself. It's like doing a SWOT for yourself, right? Then you understand what are you really good at? What are your competencies? What are you good at and what are you bad at? Don't try to bullshit and lose out on everything. Stick to what you're good at. Because you don't have enough time right now to be improving yourself in areas, right? So stick to what you're good at. Build your profile based on that connection. Connect the market opportunity, what you understand that your potential clients want versus what you're good at, and reformulate your profile. Don't keep your profile as broad as it is right now. I would suggest it's like Vivek was saying earlier, right? Keep it focused. If you just go all over the place, right? You're going to attract all the wrong kind of people and you're not going to get those gigs. Whereas if you make your profile very, very narrow and very focused and you end up being a really good specialist in that area and there's an opportunity in the market, you get picked up. That's an approach I would really take, to be honest.
Okay, so I see this kind of activities normally. So when it comes to social media, people used to share the information which is not even related to their main domain. That's okay if you can share something generic, but when it comes to LinkedIn, when it comes to the professional network, you have to be very focused because people will judge based on the content that you're sharing. People will judge based on the words that you're sharing. So this is how they will judge and they will think whether you are a well-focused person and or you are the person who always going broader. Because if a person is going to get distracted in a broader way, probably he's not going to do the things which we are trying to essay.
Exactly.
That's a good point that you made it, Dylan. Thank you so much. And I have one more last question to you. So especially, we have different type of panelists over here, even though there are participants from foreign, Europe as well, and Sri Lanka. What's your three strong advices for the freelancers and digital nomads? So what they can do, I mean, you already explained about the untapped opportunities and the strategies that you already explained. So can you just tell us the three most important things that they need to focus? Like you said, focused. So what are the things that really need to focus in order to achieve things in a very short time? Because we don't have time, we are going in a very stressed situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, very simple. Keep it very basic, to be honest. This is not a time to overcomplicate things, right? Because it's a short window you got right now, and you got to be able to cater to this and get through this window. First, number one, understand the context, right? Who are the types of clients that you want to attack? What are those segments? What do they want from a person such as you? Number one, understand that context. Number two, really figure out what you are strong in. Don't try to fiddle around and bullshit people and say, I can do X, Y, and Z. Don't try to be a jack of
Yes,
all trades.
true.
This is what a lot of people do. They try to be a jack of all trades, right?
So this is where they are failing, isn't it?
That's where they're failing, right? Especially when you're using LinkedIn, such a brilliant tool like Viveka was explaining earlier, right? You got to do it in a focused way. Don't go everywhere. keep it simple. Keep it focused, right? Number two. The number three is develop your profile and do what Viveka was telling you guys to do based on number 1 and 2, right?
Yes.
Make sure that your profile is nice and tight and saying, I'm a specialist, I'm an expert in this area. And if you take me on board, I will deliver. That's a message you need to be giving. ROI.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tilan. Thanks a lot. You explained a lot in a Sri Lankan context, the way that people can understand very easily in a Sri Lankan context that you explained very briefly. Thank you so much. So still we are not able to see Kyla over here to talk about the content and the content marketing strategies. So we can directly dive into Danishka. So Danishka Matshankar?
Yeah.
Are you still with us? You look like sleepy. Okay, so much a quick announcement for the participants. Guys, please mute your mic and the camera. And Matshankar, there are newcomers, there are new participants over here. It would be great if you can give a 1 minute short intro about yourself to the participants.
Before giving me about myself, so what I need to mention here is I really enjoyed and I learned a lot from Tilan and Viveka. So it's really nice to be here. So I'm Madhushankar and I'm a co-founder and director of Instra Technologies. Instra Technologies is a Sri Lankan company where we focus on online marketing and digital marketing stuff. We basically, what we do there is we do develop mobile apps, we do develop web applications, and we do social media marketing, and we do online marketing like search engine marketing and app store marketing, kind of digital stuff what we are doing there. So basically Tilan, excuse me. So Tilan discussed how mainstream marketing can be moved to digital marketing nowadays. So what we basically can do with this digital marketing concept. So when it comes to the digital marketing and the online marketing, search engine plays a vital role here. So if our other participant panel member was here, she may explain this way better than me. So even if she's not here, I'll explain a bit about content marketing. So what is actually content? Content is actually what we present to our consumers or our customers through online marketing or marketing strategies. So it can be social media, or it can be our website, or it can be our Facebook page, or even it can be our LinkedIn profile. So we basically make content and we make those available. So as Tilan said, think in local. So Tilan, we think in local, but if we can act in global, so this is the best opportunity for us to act in global. So act in global because this online marketing and digital marketing stuff that we can bring from Sri Lanka to anywhere else in the world. So, but when acting in global, what we need to focus there is we cannot bring or we cannot apply the same strategies and same methods for each and every country. Maybe you have to do some segmentation, and you definitely have to identify who your market is, who your consumer is, who your customer is. So for an example, if you are running a website, so we are creating content. So we are creating content for the users. Who are these users? These users are actually Google's customers. These users are not our customers if we are doing a website. So we are just giving our solutions or services to the Google's customers. So we need to identify what is the need of those customers. So the consumer behaviors and consumer needs, we need to identify those consumer behaviors and needs in order to satisfy them. So the user satisfaction, so satisfying user comes to user satisfaction. Whenever a user satisfies online, then only Google will get to know that our website or even our application satisfies the needs of their customer, and then only they boost the rankings. So that's how the online marketing and content marketing works. So where when it comes to content, what do we mean by content? Content is actually, so as Bill Gates says, content is the king. So we need to create great engaging contents in order to be successful in the online marketing. So we create content, we create engaging contents, and we need users to engage with our contents. So how we know that users engage with our content? So we need to measure it. So if you are a web developer or webmaster, you may already heard about the A/B testing with Google Optimize. Sharan, you definitely we use this Google
I'm learning
Optimize.
from you, sir. Please go ahead.
We use Google Optimize. So even if when you use Google Optimize, simple color change of a download button can boost your downloads, can bring you more customers. So what we can do is we need to create more engaging content, and we need to analyze and we need to identify what are the improvements that we can make to our website, or to our images, or to our videos. So we need to identify using some other tools like Google Optimize. So
So, Madhushankar, can I ask you one question regarding when it comes to online marketing? So, there are tons of plenty of way where we can brand ourselves if you want to be a digital nomad, if you want to sell our product and service through online. But considering the current situation, what are the strategies? Because as far as I know, you are into online marketing, and what are the trending and most viable way where we can generate income through the online marketing in a very short time frame? Because people are starving. They really need to do something in order to manage their family as well as to cater their needs. So of course, like I said before, there are tons of ways like a freelancer and Fiverr and all these things. But apart from that, is there any way that we can get income working in local or aiming in global, but in a short period? That's very specific question from the audience.
yeah, great. So as Tilan explained, so the consumer behaviors are going to change. So what we need to do is we need to identify what actually customers needs. So the positive impact of this COVID-19 is can be e-commerce or ICT solutions, or even it can be impact positively on online banking. So what my experience is, so people at I'm targeting United States crowd with my small mobile application stuff. So what I identified was I'm not getting many subscriptions these days, but the ad mob revenue that I'm getting is maximized. So
It looks like you have a backup stable business. So it doesn't matter whether you don't want to rely on the customers and their frequent orders. You have a stable business for that. I think that's a good way where we can have a business, small business, which will always lead a sales or an income frequently without relying on the mainstream source. So I understand the way that you're explaining about the content and the strategies that you're trying to emphasize. Can we narrow it down the topic to make it something really interesting? And can you tell us, for the last 4 weeks, what are the things that you have done? What are the things which has generated revenue and also managed, apart from the second source of income, the backup income?
Yeah, definitely. So
I'm hearing something really practical.
Yeah, exactly. So I mentioned about e-commerce. Yeah. So I mentioned about e-commerce, and we saw there was some situation like Kapruka struggled a bit.
We are not mentioning brands over here. Okay. We are not talking about brands.
I'm sorry. So, lots of Sri Lankan e-commerce websites struggled a bit with the COVID-19 situation. So Sri Lanka, we have the kind of situation, it's not kind of lockdown, it's a curfew. So nobody can go out, and so there were lots of transactions and for the e-commerce website. So what we actually did was we never tried something with Sri Lanka. So but with the current situation, in order to help the Sri Lankan community and in order to build a new business, we saw a new business opportunity with the consumer behavior changes from offline buying to online buying. So we built a brand new website. I cannot mention the brand name, so we
Okay,
are
I
not.
understand. We understand. So, Matsushaka, so what's your target audience? I mean, if you don't have a restriction and if you don't have any objection, can you tell us about your target audience and why you segmented your marketing strategy and your target audience specifically for the particular segments, particular product?
Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to the target audience, what we did was we segment the market. We segment the market and we identified there are lots of people that they are targeting whole Sri Lanka in this current situation. As new e-commerce platforms, they are targeting the whole country. But what we did was we focused on Central Province, which is we obviously know that Western Province is saturated a bit, and there are lots of solutions for the people in Western Province. But in the Central Province, we saw there's a lack of delivery opportunity, delivery options, and ways to buy things online. So we basically segmented our particular website focused on the Central Province.
Yes, got it. So apart from that, is there any other suggestion that you have, especially for the freelancers and also the sales marketers? So what are things, Tilan, he said focus, and Viveka said be very specific and also focus on your brand and focus on your target customers. So what is your secret? What are the strategies? What are the things that you want to highlight, especially for the sales marketers and the freelancers?
Exactly, Sharanya. So what I need to give this audience, the freelancers, and even they can be entrepreneurs. So what I need you to focus on your skills. So when you focus on your skills only, you can improve yourself. So if you focus on your skills and if you choose an online job or freelancing job or whatever, even it can be a physical stuff. So you need to be professional and you need to know how to perform this job. So you need to focus on your skills. So improve your skills or find what is suitable for you. So that is my advice.
Okay. So during this COVID-19, what's your proud moment apart from the sleeping and eating? What's your proud moment that you have done? I mean, the curfew is lifted. For us, it's curfew is lifted. So my proud moment is I have completed so much of online education, online courses, and obtained the certifications, but I don't want to put it online because I'm going in a different direction. And also I rebooted myself because I understand previous months, previous years, I've been distracted. I went in a different direction. So now I understand the potential because the COVID-19 taught me a lot to focus on the business and focus on the primary things. So what's your lesson from the COVID-19?
So exactly what my lesson is. So the consumer behavior change, we accept that change as a new opportunity. So we as entrepreneurs, we accept changes as opportunities. So we saw the new opportunities COVID-19 created all around the world and here in Sri Lanka. And so we act basically to provide some ICT based solutions, not only the e-commerce marketing solution that I mentioned here. So we prepared and we developed set of solutions which can be used during these kind of situations. So I'm really proud, and we diversified into a few areas during this COVID-19.
Great. So I mean, this is the question for three of you guys. So this session is all about how to be an influencer marketer through the online, through the digital, through the LinkedIn, as well as all the social media. So my question to you guys, maybe you can pick it a little based on your relevancy. So when it comes to influencing the specific target audience, what are the things, what are the characteristics that we need to have it? I mean, Viveka, I understand that you already answered this question, but can you highlight something that one by one, like a checklist, influencing people and creating a brand by ourselves is something that tough for people who are not focused. But what are the characteristics things that we need to focus in order to become the best of the best?
Yeah. So first of all, it's psychological. You have to be willing and be comfortable with owning that space. When I got the Twitter handle LinkedIn Expert, I wasn't a LinkedIn expert, but I knew I was going to become one. And it's not even fake it till you make it. Just at least be in the confidence that you can provide what you say you can provide, and that you, if you don't have it yet, that you are developing the expertise. So you have to come across with confidence. And it could be a cultural thing. I mean, I know, okay, I won't get political. I know that the US, we're very blustery and it's all about being the bigliest. But, you know, in reality, you still have to come across as having confidence and knowledge and being secure in that. And then you can temper it depending on the culture that you're in. Not everyone has to be the bigliest and the most awesomest. So that's number one, is just that psychology. And then of course you have to share your knowledge. And I love what I've heard from everybody today. Yeah, you need to focus on your niche, know your audience. Don't try to be everything to everyone. But if you have your niche and you know that you're knowledgeable, then by all means, you need to share your content. Of course, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, and I'm a big fan of video and sharing content on LinkedIn, but really whatever social media site your audience is on. The other thing is aligning yourself with other experts in the arena. Early on, I was very fortunate to have people like Bob Berg and Mari Smith mentor me. And so I've been aligned with them. And, you know, in the social media marketing world, I'm aligned with a lot of the big names. And so that certainly helps. That's one of the reasons that Wiley reached out to me to write a book, was the combination of sharing my expertise, but also they saw I was aligned with people like Andrea Vahl and Mari Smith and all of the other US social media marketing people. And so in your own industry, align with other colleagues or other influencers and share each other's content. One of the things that we do on LinkedIn, we've got like little influencer pods where groups of, you know, women sales professionals or groups of social media marketers or groups of sales professionals will share each other's content, will align with each other. And, you know, that, yes, it pulls up the people who are not necessarily well known yet, but that's okay, because you got to give back. You get to a certain level and you want to give back. So for those of us, you know, like Talon and I'm not gonna massacre your names. Like everyone on this panel, we've achieved a certain level of expertise and influence in our industries, right? So it's our turn now to pull other people up by not only sharing our content, but by promoting them and being mentors to them. And so I think that those three things are key to establishing yourself on LinkedIn, as well as everything else I've already talked about. Have a good brand, share the right content, blah, blah, blah. But having that mindset, being aligned with other influencers, and then being either a mentor or a mentee in your space and getting credibility that way is how you take it to the next level.
Got it. So, I mean, from the US context that we learned from you, can we get a kind of at least 1 or 2 points from Madhushankar as well as from Tilan? So in terms of influencer, online and digital influencer in Sri Lanka, because there's a misconception and it's not a discrimination, but people are not able to understand the difference between the entrepreneur and the digital entrepreneur and the influencer as well as the corporate people. But of course, I understand that this concept is entirely different. It differs based on the countries. So what Viveka said is absolutely perfect, absolutely correct in terms of the general broad view. But of course, in Sri Lanka, we do have a culture, we do have an opinion. So can I get something really specific? Can I get an answer from you guys, like from Tilan and Madhushankar? Just one from each. Thank you.
Madhushankar, you want to go first, or?
No, Tilan, you can.
Seniors
Always.
Damn it, okay, I needed to do something. I need to cut this off, I think. It's like this. I mean, to answer a little bit of the earlier question also, and then get to this is, look, I stick to the same policy of when you're looking at how you should approach business right now. or the people who stand out is the same thing I used to look for people when I used to hire people. I've literally hired hundreds of people during my career. And there's three things I used to always look for. Apart from the competencies, experience, qualifications, whatnot, three things: attitude, attitude, and attitude. Right? Because if you don't have a positive attitude, no point having all the qualifications under the sun, all the experience under the sun, think you know X, Y, and Z industries, business, company, whatever, strength, out the window. Right now, the people I see coming through this stronger are the ones who have a very open mind, are very positive, are very optimistic. I've been at times called overly optimistic, but the three businesses I am involved in, a month ago, a month and a half ago, we didn't look so great. Month and a half later, one is certainly doing a lot better than what you were doing last year or the year before that. A hell of a lot better, right? Two, we are totally redefining the businesses and changing the way we are operating. And because you asked earlier, what are you most proud about from Madhushankar? I thought I need a opportunity to answer that question too, because that's what I'm most proud about is our teams, the teams I've been working with, the way in which they were so fluid, right? The way they were so agile. They just adopted a positive attitude. They understood that the context is changing. They understood that we need to change, and we changed. Right? There's no point strategizing. Everybody talks about strategy. You know, all your MBAs and things like that, degrees. I mean, with all due respect for everybody who's got all the awesome qualifications you've got, right? It's a time to right now take that, you know, certificate down from the wall and be very street smart. You're much better off. Right?
I couldn't agree with you.
No, because see, the traditional way in which we do things are a little bit slower and steadier. We talked about sustainability. Right now, yes, you got to look at sustainable businesses, but like Madhushankar has done, I love that. You got to look at our ancillary businesses. You can't just stick to your core if your core is not going to work. You got to look at the alternative opportunities and go out there and hit hard. But you can't be strategizing for a month or 2 months in this context, right? You got to relook at your plan. You really need to relook at the context right now and go out there and implement it fast. And for that, you got to have the right attitude to start with, right? And that's what I think will work for most people who will stand out right now.
Perfect. Thank you. So let's get one from Madhushankar.
So Sharan, I'm sorry. So what I basically need to focus here is, so when we influence people in Sri Lanka, excuse me, so most of the people, they follow me on Facebook. So I'm not very active on in LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, but more active on Facebook. So lots of messages that I'm getting. So people know that I'm doing something related to mobile apps and something like that. So people want to follow me to learn the particular path that I went through from 2014 to 2020. What I did. So what I need to tell all you guys is, don't follow anyone. So find what you are capable of doing. So that is the first message that I need to give. So basically, Dan's path is different, Viveka's path is different, mine, Sharanyan, for different paths. So don't follow anyone, get influenced by us. So learn the stories and learn how we overcome the problems and find your own path. So that is my final, yeah.
Got it. So as Madhushankar said, each and every one of us having a different approach, different leadership skill, and a different way that we pursue everything. So in my case, I started my business in a way that nobody can predict it. The same pain point each and every one of you already faced it. So when we initiated this panel, there are a lot of questions from my friends circle as well as from the audience. Why are we having a different type of panelist? Why are we having a different, entirely different? Because Viveka is one of the top professional, top expert in the LinkedIn. But look at Dylan, he's a corporate person. Now he turned as a digital entrepreneur and a digital strategist. And look at Madhushankar, so he's doing online. And Kailas is from a content inbound marketing strategy. So my answer to you guys, because I didn't respond to them, why? Because if I reply, then probably they have an opinion about it. So if I reply them, it's not going to convince. Definitely they have an opinion why I'm mixing up with corporates and the professional as well as the practical entrepreneur and the person who are good in how to convince and convert. So there are 4 different type of mindset But when it comes to LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. It's not about LinkedIn or sales. But when it comes to doing something really meaningful, these are the strategies, these are the hacks that we need to pursue. The knowledge, like Viveka, and the strategies, like the Tilan. So what he said, very focused. And the Kaila, like the way that we express words are matter. So instead of asking questions from maybe there are ways to communicate, like a business communication and the communication etiquette. There are ways. And coming back to Madhusangan, a practical entrepreneur who will talk from the heart. So when we are talking, we will use filter. So these are the things that I really wanna emphasize, and I wanna get it from you guys. Trust me, guys, because these people, they asked me about the question, but I said it is going to be very natural. There's no question answer. I'm not going to give you any question to get prepared, because I just want to make it very natural, because I don't want to run this session like at the typical conference, which is question is already delivered and they're prepared especially for the particular question, because these people are domain expertise. They have the practical experience. Whatever the question that related to Viveka or Tilan or Madhusangan, they have the gut, they have the knowledge to answer you. So that's the main reason I didn't ask them to get prepared. I told them, I trust you, because I need a diverse level of people to talk and energize the audience. So this is the whole concept behind this today's session. So once again, thank you so much, guys. And this is the time that we need to take the public questions from the audience. So I think Nagul, he's raised her hands. Nagul, I think you can ask questions. Guys, here's a rule, a simple rule. When you're asking a question, please mention the person, and also make sure ask just one question. Please don't throw so much of questions, and be very specific. Thank you. So Nagul, over to you.
Yeah, it's a good night over here, good day everyone. It's Nagul from all the way from Papua New Guinea. I got questions to Ms. Viveka and also to Mr. Tilan. Ms. Viveka, I hope you heard about Papua New Guinea. It's the most diverse country here. I hope you have worked with multinational countries, like all international countries, not only in US. My question is how to navigate, because we got 800 plus languages over here, but the growing network platform, I mean, digital use over here, it's growing, even though it's high cost for the data and everything. So how to navigate or target or invite audience to the digital platforms? Because only few people living in the cities, they are very knowledgeable about Facebook, LinkedIn things, but other people also in rural using Facebook, but how to drive those audience into digital platforms or target them to market our product or services. How to do that? That is my question to you.
That's a great question. I obviously love LinkedIn, but and I'm fortunate that my audience is very much on LinkedIn. If it was Instagram or TikTok, I'd be in big trouble. But to answer your question, what you need to do is share content where your audience is. So if they're not on LinkedIn yet, if they're not on Facebook or Instagram yet, you can certainly educate them and bring them over. But at first you need to engage with them wherever they are. Is it texts? Is it email? Is it phone calls? Like, where is your audience, your diverse audience? Where are they? And how can you communicate with them to bring them over to whatever social network that you are utilizing? A lot of times we talk to our companies and they know their audience is on LinkedIn, but maybe they don't know about the website, or they don't know about the LinkedIn company page. And so they'll actually kind of go offline and do a campaign, an advertising campaign, a Google campaign, pay-per-click, or email, or just send email and say, hey, we've got these great resources on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow our company page. So you definitely want to address your audience on whatever platform they're using. And by platform, I also mean, like I said, phone, email, text, website, but address them and then pull them into your social network. And if you can educate them on it, at whatever degree, you can always create your own content and educate them on best ways of using Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is that you want. Or you can curate other people's content. Hey, you might have heard about LinkedIn. It's a great, it's a great networking site. It's really, it's exploding right now. I know that you're having difficulties with branding or with whatever they might be having difficulties with. We recommend that you get on LinkedIn. Here's an ebook from Vengresso. Here's a great blog post that Talon wrote. Here's whatever. And so you can actually educate them on the platform and then kind of bring them over to the platform. And then as far as the languages, I know, like in America, you're lucky if you actually speak one language well, much less 800. So the cool thing about LinkedIn, though, is they actually have a feature that you can create your profile in many different languages. So hopefully you speak them, so that when the person comes over, their IP address will identify most likely what language they're speaking, and then LinkedIn will actually present your profile in that language. But you actually have to speak that language too. You could use Google Translate or some of the other translation tools out there, but they're, not very good. So if you do speak many different languages and write in many different languages, then you can actually create your LinkedIn profile in those different languages that will be presented to your prospects. So hopefully that helps.
Yes, thank you very much. That's kind of a mixed with traditional also to a digital, like mixed marketing. Thank you very much for that answer. And exactly. I got one more question. Sharon, is that okay to ask to Mr. Thilan?
We will give chance to others, Nagul. Thank you so much. Okay. So I think, Mr. Nudegama, you have questions. So like I said before, be very specific and just one question. So just mention the particular panel name.
Hi, I hope you guys can hear me. Hi, I think it's again to Viveka. On the LinkedIn, I've been repeatedly told to connect with the right people to increase your SSI scoring. Okay, but I'm in a situation where we do enterprise software sales, ERP solutions for a diversified customer segment. So I can't really, I need to connect with the tech guys as well as financial guys, as well as a variety of sets.
Yeah.
So for me, it's going to affect it anyway. So how do I focus on that? Am I clear on my question?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Like I said, the SSI score, it's a number. You do not want the SSI score in trying to achieve a high SSI to inhibit your ability to actually do business. So by all means, connect with the people that you need to on LinkedIn. Don't worry about your SSI score. Quite frankly, the more that you connect and engage with whoever it is on LinkedIn, the other things like insights will rise up. So please don't let a number keep you from actually using the tool effectively. I would absolutely connect to those individuals. Now, what will hurt you is if you're, excuse me, what will hurt you is if you're reaching out and inviting people to connect with no context and they're all saying no, 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 right? They're all archiving, deleting, or saying they don't know you. That will definitely affect not only your SSI score, but your actual business. So always, always, always customize the invitation to connect. Certainly if you've met them in real life, it was great meeting you at that meeting, at that conference, at wherever, reflect that. But if you don't know them yet and you do want to invite them to connect, you go to their profile, read through their profile, find some kind of commonality that you can speak to, your expertise, where you grew up, their passions, whatever it is, something that you can pull in so that when you invite them to connect and customize that invitation, they are a lot more likely to say yes. But yeah, please don't let the SSI score keep you from actually connecting and engaging with these prospects.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nitsan. Thank you, Viveka. And we have one more question from Venki. So Venki, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Saranyan. Again, this question is to Viveka. In fact, I wanted to ask a different question, but you already answered it. See, in fact, I was referred to your book, LinkedIn Marketing 1 hour a day, if I'm not wrong.
That thing's so old. Don't buy that book.
No, I just have two questions which probably could be, useful today from that book. One is your LinkedIn chat, which used to run on Twitter. Do you still run it?
I don't think so. I passed that on to have someone else run it, and I think we shut that one down basically because we're not. Our company with Vengresso isn't using Twitter as much. So it was Tuesday night at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think we're running it anymore. I should know that, shouldn't I? No, I believe we shut that one down.
Okay, and there was a checklist that you had given along with that book, which gave us a daily and specialty this thing, which probably is irrelevant today. But is there a checklist that you currently have which probably could be useful to us now? Because in 2013, it was definitely useful to me.
Right.
Not completing that book though.
It's probably time for me to do another one. I tell you what, if you will email me, I know we have one on our website. I'd have to find it for you. But yeah, I do have a checklist. I just have to find it. So if you email me, go old school and email me. And I think my email's in chat. I will find it and send it to you. And actually I'll send it. I'll put it in our LinkedIn chat, and then I'll put it in our LinkedIn, the group that we have on LinkedIn, our LinkedIn messaging group, and that way everyone can access it.
Sure, thank you. And thank you so much, Mr. Dhilan, because the insights that you gave were completely different in terms of the consumer behavior in this current situation. I think that is something that I had actually gone totally tangential, but I think you brought me back to track. Thank you so much for that insight.
You're welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Venki and Viveka. So is there anyone want to ask any questions from the panelists? Okay, so meantime, I have one question from, again, Thilan. So Thilan, as far as I know, you're having you're one of the ex-banker. We have a very good experience in banking and finance industry. And this is something really generic question because I used to get this kind of questions nowadays. And what are the opportunities when it comes to the local, this is out of the topic, when it comes to obtaining the facilities, obtaining the chances in local. So it's not about the banking sector, and also the opportunities which is available by the government, and where we can access very quickly, in short.
Yeah. You're talking about access to capital, right?
Access to capital, but I understand this is completely off topic, but
of
these people probably they need an answer, because since you are one of the ex-banker, I still remember you are one of the deputy general manager of Ceylon Bank, isn't it?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I can tell you one thing. I used to handle 10 departments in the bank. I had 5 different department heads, 360 people, etc. But life right now is far more dynamic and stressful in the current scenario. So for anybody out there who's in corporate life thinking about getting into ownership, think about it long and hard for everyone, right? I'm loving it, but but see, what you asked is a very interesting question right now. And as I told you, I've looked at starting 2 businesses within this space of 1 month. I told you one was on the gig space. The second one is in the exact same space you're asking me about, because there's so much of potential. Right now, I wonder how many of you know, there's a 4% loan. Did you hear about that, Sharanyan?
Yes, heard about it.
Based on yeah. So because a lot of people are interested in this loan at 4% when the rest of the rates are about 15-16%, right?
Yeah, but still, I think we have to provide the collateral, isn't it?
Absolutely. So all 3 of my businesses, which are in the IT and related industries, qualify for those, right? And we've got a lot of different government bodies asking us what do we want, and we've been saying, look, the banks are saying it, but the banks are not giving it, right? And look, the banks are not going to come behind customers right now and say, hey, we are going to give you a loan at 4%, or we are going to help you restructure. It's up to us to do that, right? So there aren't too many non-collateral based opportunities right now for organizations, right? you had to have some form of collateral. That's the unfortunate part right now. And banks are going to be very, very sensitive and very risk averse at the moment, because the amount of delinquencies right now. If you look at last year before, there were banks who had just 2%, 3% delinquency, non-performing assets. They went to 4%, 5%. There were banks at 5%, 6% have gone to almost 10%. So it's not going to be easy accessing capital right now. But I'm really hoping there will be more credit lines coming, especially the development banks. If you know what the development banks are, you told me not to mention brand names, right?
Yes.
But development banks might be able to get some credit lines, and you might be able to access some funds through that, based on foreign NGOs coming through and foreign funding agencies coming through and things like that. So watch out for those opportunities. Apart from that, what I suggest is, apart from new capital, the business I'm entering into, as an example, is I've right now partnered with some credit experts from banking to come and help people like you, right? To come to us for advice. So what we are doing right now is we are building a panel of credit experts. You can get different types of services from us. One is you come to us for advice on how to restructure your loans and your on your various capital requirements from the banks. We advise you. Number two, we help you develop proposals. Number three, we actually get a letter of authority from you and represent you to go and talk to the banks. Because right now, a lot of people don't have the expertise, because there are, like, let's take Madhushank as an example. I'm assuming things. He's probably brilliant at what he does, but I don't know his financial acumen. He's not probably too great in terms of going out there and being able to, get financials from the traditional banks, as an example. That's where you need advice from different people. I'm not just saying our business, but different people to be able to access. Right? So it is based, my friend. That's one problem. Engage your bank. Whoever you are, engage with your banks. Start talking to them. Don't be shy. Don't stay away. Talking to them and talking about your problems, and say, look, if I'm to sustain my business and if I'm to pay you back what I already owe you, you need to support me right now and help my cash flow, if nothing else. That's one you got to do. You got to make do. You got to do.
Understood. So there are audience, they have already asked about your background. I told them he's an ex-banker. He's having a financial background. So that's the reason they have sent me a private message. I don't want to moderate this because it has to be something really authentic and very genuine way. So that's the reason I conveyed that message directly to, even though that is not related to influencer marketing. The session. So anyway, I think there are a lot of people. So I'll get okay. So Mohammed Navahan, if you have a question, please make sure ask the right person and make it just one question. Thank you.
Hi, Tilan. So I have a question for you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mohammed, I can.
Yeah. So being an ex-banker and coming into a digital world entrepreneur, so what kind of challenges that you faced? Because I'm also into some kind of management and coming into a technical part. So now I'm transferring from the management to the technical. So what sort of challenges that you faced during your journey?
Right. Number one, despite whatever else everybody tells you, saying it's capital, it's this, it's that, number one is this, right? Your mindset. You got to be able to change your mindset. Some people like me were programmed to being corporate guys. I've had to change radically up here to be able to deal with the kind of shit that's going on right now. Right? It's going crazy. So that's number one. You need to really adjust to the new environment. Coming from a corporate guy to an entrepreneur, the dynamics are totally different. The stress is caused by totally different things. Everybody thinks it's nice and sexy to be an entrepreneur. You have your own time, nonsense. You don't have any time. You're 24/7, right? That's what happens. I see Madhushank, shaking his head, right? So, this is what all of us go through. So number one is a mindset shift that you got to make happen. You got to expect the unexpected. That's happened to all of us right now, right? Have multiple scenarios in your head and be able to be very agile in your thinking, because it's not like in corporates, you can stick to a certain strategy and have a certain strategy for a number of years. When you're in entrepreneurship, you got to be able to change like that. Like Madhushank said, he's changed his core business, gone from his core to periphery. In my 3 businesses, one business has done 180-degree turn. We are not even in the same products and services we used to be. We probably will do that after all this is over, come back to our core business. But right now we had to ride a wave. Another thing is getting access to capital, like the previous question. Look, it's not so easy, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur. If you don't have a lot of collateral, it's going to be very tough. So find some collateral if you're in a Sri Lankan scenario, right? Find collateral and get some access to some capital and back those businesses up. You got to be able to be very agile, especially if I didn't quite understand whether you're into an SME or whether you're into a startup. Especially if you're into startups, you need to be fluid in your thinking. I've met a lot of people who are into the startup space thinking, this is my idea, I'm very passionate about it, I got to do this. Nonsense. When you start a startup, 1 week after starting, you can be in a totally different business. 1 month after starting, you can be in a different business. 3 months later, you can be in a totally different segment. 6 months later, you forget about all that and scrap it and go back to the drawing books and start something new, right? Because you got to be, I'm not telling you not to be committed or focused. What I'm trying to tell you is you got to be able to identify the opportunities and be very fluid in the way you're managing your business. Because unlike in corporate, like you just mentioned, if you're in corporate, things move very, very fast. And as an entrepreneur, your capital is limited. So you got to make the most of it. ROI is everything. So be fluid, guys.
Thank you. I think hope he has answered your question. Thank you. So I think we can take one more question from Shalinda. Shalinda Dahanayaka. Okay. Shalinda, please answer your question correctly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Loud and clear.
My question is to Shankar. Yeah. I'm most of the time creating the content in Sinhala. I just started a few websites to publish the Sinhala content. So I was thinking about the instant article and few strategies to the when it comes to the earning. So for the Sinhala content creators, what is the best opportunity and the way suggest?
You're asking about the particular language-based contents, right?
Yeah.
So as we basically know, Shalind, Google advertisements or these type of large networks doesn't support Sinhala yet, but it supports Tamil. So what my suggestion here is, why do you focus on Sinhala? So is there any reason for you to target Sinhala language?
Actually, because of my domain, and I was planning to do a kind of a Sinhala tech magazine and related.
Okay, Shalinda, I'm not familiar with the ad networks which provides advertisement for Sinhala contents. But I can do is, so Sharanyan already shared my email address with you. So you better email me. So I'll find and I'll discuss with my other members who is familiar with instant marketing, so instant articles, and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madhushanka and Shalinda. I think, guys, I think this is the time that we have to wrap up. And so what we learned today, my reflection, actually, I created this session. We want to talk about LinkedIn we want to learn LinkedIn and the advanced tricks and hacks from Viveka. And then after that, we want to get to know about the content integration and content writing from Kaila. And then we want to borrow the brain from Tilan to strategize and integrate everything. And then we can use Madhushanka in order to promote ourselves, in order to get some kind of online revenue. So these are the 4 integral part that I decided to put it. But gladly, I received so much of PM private messages talking about the bank, but I don't want to allow them to talk with Tilan because otherwise they will take 2 hours. So I want to tell them this is inappropriate because these people are our audience, so we want to respect them. So I just raised one question on behalf of them. That's it, nothing else. And so again, in nutshell, this is a very, very interesting and inspiring session because especially I learned a lot from Viveka. Nowadays, there's a concern, not a concern, kind of very serious discussion about the social selling index, because there are people, they are really keen about social selling index, and also the sales navigator, people who are using sales navigator and people who are lead gen, they really don't care about it. Only the sales marketer, just post it for them. But it's, in my perspective, it's all depend on the way that you're focusing your target audience.
Yeah.
And how are you engaging, whether you really want to invest your time or you really want to benchmark yourself with the SSI and all the factors. But apart from this, the dashboard, but there are ways that you can craft yourself where you can segment yourself when it comes to LinkedIn and also the online promotions. Again, so this is really interesting. I want to invite Nagul Selvan to give a feedback about the panel in feedback within less than 2 minutes in order to wrap up officially. Nagul, still live with us?
Yeah, I'm always, yes. It's very hard to give a feedback to the expert panel for a like a growing person, like very little knowledge about digital and things. But starting from Viveka, thank you very much for your insights about how audience are reading our profile, how to portray ourselves to them, and the designing your LinkedIn profiles. Not like putting everything over there and just showing them that we know all the skills, rather putting it like making tailored edition of your profile. And also I was really confused about this SSI. I thought I had to get 100% of it, or like at least 90%, then only I can make it happen. But from you, I got confidence that I can do it. Still I can do it. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Thilan. Thank you very much for coining those terms, digital and gigonomics. Thank you very much. Really insightful being a banker and dealing with number crunching works and everything. And thank you very much mixing this digital world also into your practical experiences. Really a lot of what do you call these terms that you have used. It's actually like mind-blowing, and thank you very much to giving the short session. I think we should have another session with you also, with Viveka. So like an individual session, so we can learn.
Nagul, you are putting me in trouble because how much time I spent to follow Viveka and Thilan.
Yeah, Sharan was fabulous. I kept asking him what the questions were, and he kept sidestepping me. He didn't. So he was very good. He kept it very, very spontaneous. Fabulous. Well done.
I kept asking him if he was sure I needed to be on at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, Mr. Thank you very much for coming, getting up early in the morning, 4 o'clock, and of course, it's good to have a session. And with Madhushanga as an entrepreneur, and sharing your experience, and how you are from starting from 2014, now you're building up your business, and it's a really inspiration people like us what to do, what to do next. But we are looking forward to hear all of you from other individual sessions, so we can learn more, especially from all three of you. And I hope you will accept the invitation. Ms. Viveka, you have to help the developing nations people, So
I will definitely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nagul. So as I said earlier, the panelists, the people who have shared their insight with you guys, probably they will be in our group. We have created a separate thread on our LinkedIn message section, but we have added the people who are really, really interested, because we know the value of our panelists. They are business people. So if there are any basic questions, of course, you can Google it. But if you have something that you really want to learn it from the experts, ask your question from the thread, probably they will answer. And so getting the knowledge and learning things, but without doing anything, no, that's a waste of time. So what you learn today, you have to make it in action. So please join our LinkedIn mastermind group. There's a group that we have created, but we are not accepting everyone. We are accepting only the people who are highly related and people who are really interested to take their LinkedIn profile to the next level. And we are inviting the experts, not only the LinkedIn experts, and also people having a different the knowledge from the marketing as well as the content and also the entrepreneurship skill, because these things need to get integrated properly, because when it comes to practical, these are the core components that will push you to do things in a proper way. That's the main reason we have onboarded this paper, this great paper. So once again, guys, it's a fantastic day and fantastic evening for me, and I'm really great and honored to be a host for you guys. I'm sincerely believe that you guys enjoyed the session, and also the panelists as well as the participants. I believe the participants, you guys learned something that really entirely new from the panelists, especially from Viveka and Tilan and Madhushankar. And yes, of course, we missed Kaila today because she didn't answer. Why? Probably there's a valid reason for that, because otherwise she's the person always keeps on, when are you going to start the session? What are the things I need to get prepared? So she sends a bunch of questions to get prepared herself. So there should be a valid reason. That's the reason she's not able to come online. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
guys. Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep.